Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. In this video, we are going to talk about introduction to graphing, just the basics of how do you graph a point, how do you graph on a plane. Okay. Let me just make graph here. Very straight. Now this is a plane that we're going to graph in. Now there's some terminology that I'm going to talk about in this video. The first thing is the vertical line is called y-axis, and the horizontal line is called x-axis. Right? Now the point where the x-axis and the y-axis meet, this point is our origin. No? The xy plane that we use to graph our function is it has a special name to it. It's called Cartesian coordinate plane. Right? So you can just remember that. Okay. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to start graphing. Right? Let me just erase this. Now let's say we're trying to graph a point 5, 6. Right? How do you graph this in a plane? Okay. Whenever you see now this is called coordinate, and it always has an x and a y value. Your x is how far would you go in the x-axis, and y is how high or how low would you go in the y-axis. Anything to the right of the origin is positive in the x-axis, and negative, and anything to the left is negative in the x-axis. Anything up of the origin is positive in the y-axis, and anything below origin is negative in the y-axis. Okay, now let's look at a point again. This is a positive 5. That means we should go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units in the positive direction of x-axis. And there's a positive 6. That means we should go 6 units higher. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's 5. We should go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this point right here, the one that I labeled, is the point 5, 6. It is going 5 units in the positive x direction, and from that point you should go 6 high in the y direction. It's positive in the positive y direction. And this is one of the example. Let's do another one here. Let's see, how do we do 1, negative 2? Okay, let me just make some units here faster. Okay, now again, this is x and this is y. Now by convention, we always write the x first and the y second. We never write y first and the x second. Right? Okay, now x is positive, so we should be going 1 unit to the right, which is this point. Now if you see here, our y in this case is negative. That means we should go below origin 2 units. So that's the 1, and then 1, 2 gives us that point. And that is that point over there. Now let's see one last one here. We're going to do negative 4, negative 3. Alright, so let's see how we do this. Okay, so it's negative 4 again. This is x and y. Negative 4 would be 4 units to the left of origin, because x is negative there. So it's -1, -2, -3, -4, and y again is negative, so it should go below the origin. 1, 2, and 3, and that's how we graph that point. All right, that's -4, -3. That's how you do it. Okay, now let's see a point that is in the line. Let's do an example of that. 5, 0. All right, now again, this is x, and this is y. Now it's positive, so it should be in the x direction, 5 units. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, if you see the y here is 0 in this case, that means you don't go up or down; you just stay in the line. And this is how we graph 5, 0. The one in the y-axis now. All right, 0, 6. Okay, 0, 6. Now again, this is our x and y. Okay. Now x is 0 in this case, so you should just be here. You don't go left, you don't go right. And y is 6, which is positive, so we go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and it is in the y-axis, right? So we talk about how to plot points in a Cartesian coordinate plane, given any coordinates. Now you should be able to do that. Okay. Well, the next thing that I want to talk in this video is, now you should see, there's 4 quadrants here. This is the first quadrant, called second quadrant, this is called third quadrant, and this is the fourth quadrant, right? And each quadrant has special qualities that I'm going to talk about here now. In the first quadrant, if you could see, it is made up of this line and that line. All these numbers are in the positive x, and all these numbers are in the positive y. So the first quadrant, both the x, any point in the first quadrant, x and y, you should see that your x would be positive and your y would be positive, because in the first quadrant it's made up of positive x and the positive y. Let's come to the second quadrant now. It is made up of this line and that line, right? Now this is the negative of in the x to those. Any point xy would look like your x would be negative and your y would be, positive. Likewise, in the third quadrant, it's made up of these 2 lines. Okay. Now this is again xy. Your x, any point in the third quadrant, your x would be negative, and your y is made up of the negative y. It's below the origin, so it's negative. It's negative and a negative number. Now finally, the fourth quadrant is made up of this line and that line. Now this is the positive in the x direction. So any point xy would have x positive, and it's just the negative is below origin, so it's negative in the y-axis would be positive and a negative number. All right, and this completes the presentation on introduction to graphing. And next video we'll talk about how do you take this and graph the actual functions. Thank you.